Adam, you're muted.
Hey, yeah, how about that for an intro, right? Uh, what's up, everybody? We're live here on the Rising Coaches Podcast, joined by Bryan Hodgson today at the University of Alabama. Bryan, what's up, man? How are you?
Good, man. Good. Just finishing up week 2 of workouts with our guys, and life is good, man. A little bit of normalcy back.
Yeah, it looked like you just came from your own workout, got a little sweat in.
I did, man. I'm trying to get back on it. I let it go for a while, and so now I've got to make up for some lost time. But it's good.
All right, Bryan, I'm gonna pitch you a softball here, right down the middle to get started, just as a little warm up.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. Something I'm asking everybody because I'm working on trying to eat better and stuff. Give me the last meal you ate. What'd you have and who'd you eat it with?
Last meal I ate was today, lunch by myself in my office. I had a grilled chicken breast with a sliced tomatoes and asparagus. That was it.
Oh, wow. You are going healthy.
Yeah, I'm doing this intermittent fasting deal, and then basically 3 healthy meals a day, man. So the one thing you realize about dying and or losing weight and getting back in shape is diet and exercise is undefeated. So that's really the only way to do it. So I'm trying to stick with it, man.
No doubt. Good for you, man. You're a stronger man than I am.
Not yet.
So let's get right into the good stuff, man. I want to talk a little bit. You've obviously gained a reputation in this industry as being, one of the best recruiters in college basketball. And so let's try to dissect how you do what you do, and maybe share some insight with some people who aspire to do similar things. So you started off at the JUCO level,
yeah,
right? You played at a JUCO. Is it Jamestown College?
Jamestown Community College, yeah.
Where's that, in New York, like upstate New York?
Yep, but a little bit over an hour south of Buffalo.
Okay. All right. Most of those JUCOs, there's some good programs up there, but is that D2, D1?
D2, yep.
D2, okay. And you went from there to Midland, which is in Texas, which obviously everyone talks about, like Texas, Florida, Kansas are the 3 best JUCO leagues in the country. And so, I mean, that's a huge difference between Jamestown and Midland, correct?
Correct. Yeah, it was night and day, man. That the setup at Midland is better than a lot of Division I's I've been to, honestly. So, 7,000 seat arena, season ticket holders, the whole deal.
Okay, and when you're at that level, whether you're at Midland or Jamestown, you're doing everything. I mean, everything.
Yeah.
I remember back to my JUCO days. You're recruiting, player development, strength coach. You're the trainer. You're the tutor. All of it.
It's unbelievable, man. I joke with people now. One of the stipulations when I got hired at Midland was I had to get a CDL, so I could essentially the license that truck drivers get, so I could drive the team bus, a full-size bus. That was one of the stipulations of being an assistant coach at Midland, was you essentially had to get a truck driver's license so you could drive the bus to and from the games. And that West Texas League, our road games were 3 hours, 4 hours. I mean, there was some hauls, but it was good. I learned a lot during my time there.
Okay, yeah. So what were some of the big things you learned from the JUCO route?
I think the biggest thing, man, is to be appreciative of the resources. You're never going to find me, and if you do, call me out on it. You're never going to find me complaining about resources. Obviously, I'm at Alabama, so there's not much to complain about. But even at Buffalo, I think that Nate coming from high school, me coming from junior college, what we had at Buffalo was unbelievable. We're getting catered meals for the guys. We're handing out, cost of attendance checks. At Midland, I was picking up, peanut butter and jelly sack lunches from the cafeteria, driving the bus, putting the laundry in after practice, breaking down the film. I was doing it all. So I think the biggest thing was work ethic. Literally practice is over and guess what? I got 2 hours worth of laundry to do. And then B is just be appreciative of the resources. It drives me nuts when guys complain about the resources of where they're at. You took that job. You knew what you were walking into. Guys, I can't win here. That's not true. So that's something that I want to never be a part of. I'm going to be appreciative no matter where I'm at.
Okay, one of the things that I loved about the JUCO experience is like you get to recruit,
Yeah,
you get to coach right away. There's no like, I kind of did a little bit of both. I was JUCO and then I went the Division I route, and it was another like 8 years before I saw the court or was on the road recruiting. But you jumped right into that at that JUCO level, and at Midland, the level of talent that you're getting there is pretty high level, correct?
yeah, and you know what? It really helped me with almost like a seamless transition into Division I recruiting, because at Midland, man, like I was competing with Indian Hills, Barrett Peary, laid the groundwork there. They had an unbelievable program. Hank and Steve Green up at South Plains. Even back to your whole tree down at Central Florida. The other guys in our league, Odessa, Eastern Florida, Chipola. I mean, literally, it was almost like Power 5 recruiting. When I called a kid that everybody knew needed JUCO, he's also was going to hear from every one of those schools. So you really had to find your niche, and you had to work it, man. It's not easy at that level.
Yeah, no question. So you go from Midland and you get the job at Buffalo. How did that like go down? What was the connection there? And basically, how did you get that job?
Craziest story ever. So Bobby Hurley was the head coach at Buffalo. Nate was his assistant, along with Levi Watkins, who's now at Ole Miss. Bobby, Nate, and Levi, the combination of the three, were constantly getting down to Midland, checking us out in jamborees. I had 2 or 3 kids that they really, really liked. And so they had made it down to Midland 3 or 4 times. I'm born and raised in Western New York. I'm from Jamestown, about an hour south of Buffalo. So I developed a relationship with those guys. And long story short, Bobby got to a point where Bobby was going to hire me at Buffalo. He called me. Our season had just ended at Midland. Bobby said, "Hey, I want to offer you a job at Buffalo. You're going to be an assistant. I'll give you some time to think about it." And I was like, "Well, I don't need any time to think about it. A, it's Division I, and B, that's my hometown." So we were kind of working out the fine details of how things were going to work and getting me up there and the whole deal. All of a sudden, Bobby takes the job at Arizona State, and couldn't take me with him. So, I had already resigned at Midland. So here I am without a job. Well, the one thing that I made a point to do during that whole process was build a strong relationship with the other 2 assistants, Nate and Levi, who were coming down. And so I built a really good relationship with Nate. I mean, we were talking on the phone every day. So Nate gets the job on April 11th, which was my birthday, calls me, says, "Hey, they're going to hire me here to replace Bobby. I'm going to be the head coach. I'd still like to hire you." And, he basically put one stipulation on it, which was, "We have 5 scholarships. You better go fill them." So that's kind of how it all worked out, man. And we went to the tournament and NCAA tournament in year 1, and the rest is history.
Okay, we're here live with Bryan Hodgson. Appreciate everybody tuning in. What's up, Ben? Ben, one of my Northern Colorado guys, tuning in. Drop us a comment. I hope you guys are enjoying here. Okay, so Bryan, talk about that. You talked about you built a relationship. A lot of people come in contact with different coaches, and they were in your gym recruiting your guys, and that's one thing. And to get to know them is one thing, but like to strengthen that relationship to the point where they trust you, where they want to bring you in on their staff, that's a whole nother skill set. I mean, talk a little bit about that, like how you're able to break through that barrier.
I think, to be honest with you, and this is the best advice that I can give to guys that were in that situation, is I think that Nate recognized that there wasn't anything that I wasn't willing to do. And that stems from my junior college background. So I think that Nate was looking for guys that could relate to him, his work ethic, his blue collar mentality. Nate's the head coach at Alabama, and 6 years ago was a high school math teacher at Romulus High School in Detroit, which is unheard of. So he was only 2 years into Division I, and I think his biggest thing was, hey, I need guys that are going to work for me, that are willing to do what I'm going to do, and that's sweep the floors to recruiting, to scheduling, to whatever it takes to win. We had the same competitive drive. He's one of the most competitive guys I know, and we kind of hit it off right away. I mean, there was a million guys that Nate could have called and given that job to. Nate's a relationship guy, is very close with a lot of people, but I think that we connected on the same level as far as work ethic, and then most importantly, kind of like I mentioned earlier, I told Nate, I said, listen, I'm from Buffalo. There's no reason why we can't win there. And he knew that I really felt that and believed that. And I think that's why he wanted me on board. I think as a head coach, you want a staff that 100% believes that you're capable of winning where you're at.
Okay. And you mentioned it, like he said, the one stipulation is we got 5 scholarships, go fill them.
Yeah.
Like that was always that's always kind of been your forte, right? Like recruiting, obviously you do everything just like everybody, but like it seemed like the staff dynamic was he let you go get players and not have to worry as much. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but you didn't have to worry as much about some of the other stuff. That was your main focus. Is that pretty accurate to say?
Yeah, it is 100%. And, what happened was we built such a trusting relationship that his mentality was, I trust Bryan's eye and his evaluation and his opinion on recruiting. So if we streamlined it to the point where I'm just going to send Bryan, he's going to go do his deal. This is what we need, Bryan. This is what, what I'm looking for. We're on the same page. Let's streamline it so we can have the most possible guys at practice every day, and we can be most effective in recruiting with our budget. So he would know I'd leave. There was times at Buffalo I'd leave on September 9th, and I'd come back 3 weeks or 4 weeks later, because I would go make my junior college rounds. I'd do the whole Texas swing, the whole Florida swing, the Kansas swing. I'd kind of come back. We'd have an idea from the summer of who we wanted. We'd kind of go from there. We had that thing down to a science at Buffalo, and everybody contributed. I think that's why we were so successful at Buffalo. I appreciate your comment about being a good recruiter, but to be honest with you, it comes from working for Nate. He recruits like an assistant. When I need him to be all in on a guy, he's all in. And the reason is we're kind of on the same page. And that success has continued here at Alabama. We hired Antoine Petway, who in reality is probably one of the best recruiters in the country. I mean, we're talking about guys like Colin Sexton and John Petty and Kyra Lewis. He brought those guys here to Alabama. So I've learned a lot from him, and we quickly got on the same page. And I think that's the biggest thing in recruiting is I see too many staffs with like tension between, now we got to get my kid. We got to, that we don't have that. We've got to get the guy that Nate's excited about that fits the way we play. But yeah, that's kind of always been my niche, my role. I've always been a people person. I think that's the biggest thing. And I enjoy doing it. Recruiting's not work to me. I enjoy the chase. I enjoy evaluating guys and finding guys that fit our system. It's exciting to me.
Okay. I've got a lot of questions for you.
Yeah.
So do you feel like it's like, why don't more staffs do that? Why don't more staffs have like one person who can just like, I feel like it just makes everyone's life easier, no?
Yeah. So, that's a great question. I want to speak on that. I'm so glad you asked that, because, and we don't here at Alabama, Petway recruits a ton too, but I will say this. So many people are worried about being pigeonholed, right? Like the old deal, like, oh, you don't want to be labeled as a recruiter, or you don't want to be labeled as just an X's and O's guy, right? Or just, you don't want to be stuck in the ops spot and be labeled as just a great ops guy. Well, to be honest with you, I think there's some falseness to that. So I did, I was a part of the Top Connect this year. I did it last year and this year, and it's been great both years. I did the mock interviews this past year, and a couple different ADs at different levels, brought that up to me. They say, I kind of talked to them about how I didn't want to be labeled as just a recruiter. And I promise you, I think I did 6 mock interviews. 3 out of the 6 ADs said, wait a minute, why? Recruiting is what this is all about. Like, as ADs, we're not going to hire somebody that can't recruit, because you can be the best coach in the world, but if you don't have players or guys that fit your system, or guys that want to be at your school, you're not going to win. And, when it comes time to do the interview and it comes time to move over 18 inches into that chair, well, you got to prove you can do those things. But be the best you can be at whatever your role is with your staff. And Charlie Henry's on staff here. X's and O's. Why? I mean, he's one of the sharpest dudes I've been around. We're the same age, and he spent 5 years in the NBA. He's with Fred Hoiberg at Iowa State. Nate's a high-level offensive and both defensive X's and O's guy, big analytics guy. Adam Bowman. Adam Bowman's one of the best in the country. He's been the ops guy for us going on year 6. Adam could easily be an assistant coach anywhere in the country and be unbelievably successful. So our staff is great. So I guess I try to stay in my lane a little bit, and provide input as much as I can in the other places. But if I go all in on recruiting, I think I can benefit our staff a ton. And I'm still at practice every day. I'm still working the guys out. I'm still watching film and doing scouting. But my main focus is recruiting. It's like any successful company. Everybody has their role, and you've got to be really good at your role. And so I don't know why it's more staffs don't do that. You see it, and they have tension. There's all this tension. Like, now I got to get coach to see my kid. We don't have that here because we're literally all on the same kids. And I think that's what's allowed us to be successful.
It makes so much sense. I think it's unfortunately one of those things that's so prevalent in our business, which is like, it's the way it's always been done. It's all people know, so they won't try something else. But if you told me my only job was to focus on scouts, I would, first of all, I would do a better job because that's where my attention is. And number 2, I would probably enjoy it because I don't have 50 different things going on in my brain. I can zero in on one task. It's funny, Bryan, I've talked to a lot of, especially this last year being out of coaching, I've talked to so many people about that topic. Is it best to be well-rounded or is it best to be a specialist? And almost every single coach I ask says be well-rounded. Almost every single AD or search firm representative or agent says to be a specialist. So it's a really interesting divide there.
Yeah, and I think a huge part of it goes back to your boss. What does your boss want? And the most successful programs I know, they've got some specialists, man. It's just, we had that thing down to a science at Buffalo, and we're getting there here. But Jim Weitzel ran our defense. We were top 10 in the country defensively. Jamie Quarles ran our offense. We were top 5 to 10, depending on the 2 years, offensively in the country. And I ran our recruiting. And we had a lot of talent at Buffalo. So we all had we specialized in our certain areas, and we would all assist each other in those areas as well. All 3 of us were involved in scouting. Here's another very interesting thing that we do that a lot of other schools don't do. Every single assistant does every scout. So all 3 of us do every scout. And we break it into offensive, defensive, personnel, and special teams. And we adopted that at Buffalo in year 3, and we had a lot of success that year 3 and 4. We won an NCAA tournament game both years. We were 14th in the country year 4. And Nate adopted, I forget who he got it from. I think Adam actually, at Bowman brought it to the table. I think maybe the Purdue guys did it. But what we found was nobody was out of the loop. Everybody was invested into that game. And a lot of times with me being on the road as much as I would take the personnel and special teams, right? I can do that from anywhere. Whereas if you're doing the defensive or the offensive side of the ball, you've got to be at practice to walk the guys through some stuff. And it worked really, really well. So we got that thing down at Buffalo to specialized areas, and we were rolling, man. And we're getting there here. We have a lot more staff members here. So I think that's the biggest thing about making a transition from the MAC to the SEC is I think we have 17 people on staff here. And when I first got here, I'm like, hold up, what do all you guys do? 4 years ago, I was at Midland. There was just me and my head coach. So, which is interesting for sure.
Okay. So going back to recruiting, again, we touched on it, but you get the job at Buffalo. It's very clear your job is to go out and get players.
Yeah.
And you guys had so much talent. I mean, you guys were by far and away the most talented team in your conference. I think it's fair to say that.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was really that close. You would know better than I would, but
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they had some good teams, but I think our record ended up proving that. But yeah.
So there's two things I want to talk to you about. I want to talk about the evaluation side, and I also want to talk about the actual recruiting side.
Yeah.
Let's start with the eval stuff because I think they go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
You guys got like I would watch you in action. You know, we'd be at the same gyms or events or whatever, and you would pull some like really good JUCO players, highly touted, that had other high major offers maybe. But that made sense to me. Like, okay, Bryan has a JUCO history. Like, he's been at that level. He's got those contacts and relationships and people that'll probably help. Yeah. But I think the thing that goes probably underappreciated is not every single guy you brought in was this high profile dude. A lot of them just were really, really good and undervalued. Yeah. So talk about like your eye. What are you like? Not necessarily what are you looking for, but yeah, kind of like how do you know when someone's the right fit for what you guys are looking for?
Yeah, that's a good question. Here's what I'll say. It's you have to recruit to your system and your head coach. And it's so crazy. We're doing a recruiting Zoom the other day with a kid, a 2021 kid, and actually, I'm sorry, 2021 JUCO kid. So, but he's a JUCO guy. So we're kind of going through the success that we've had with junior college guys, and we pull up a slide, and it's kind of what JUCO guys did while they were at Buffalo. And we have two of them here, but they haven't played for us yet. So we're going through the guys we had at Buffalo, and one of them was Montel McCray. All right, so Montel McCray played at South Plains, and on one of the best teams in the country for one of the best junior college coaches in the country. I mean, Steve Green's a Hall of Fame guy, had a lot of good players. I think Montel played like 18 to 20 minutes a game at South Plains. Maybe I think he was under 10 points a game, made 0 threes in 2 years at South Plains. And we took him at Buffalo. He started for us. He won 2 NCAA tournament games and has probably the highest combined winning percentage of any player to ever play at Buffalo, and hit 43s in 2 years. And so what I'll tell you is we beat out Youngstown State to get Montel McCray. No ACC, no Big 10, no Big 12 schools. But when I went and watched Montel, I saw a 6'10" kid that could literally run like a guard. And we're one of the fastest teams in the country. So I have to recruit to our system. And I think that's the biggest mistake I see people make. And trust me, I make mistakes too. We all do. But like I know how a team plays, right? We know how everybody plays. We've been in this long enough. And you'll see like a team that plays fast recruit like a kid that belongs in a system that walks the ball up the floor. And they do it just because this kid's ranked here or someone else in their league offered him. We've gotten away from that. Like we're every year we're top 10 in the country in tempo. So to play for us, you have to be able to get up and down the floor. And so I think that's the biggest thing is evaluating that, can they play at our pace? And then will my boss like them? There's kids out there that are top 50 in the country that my boss would not want to coach. And I know that I've been around them long enough. Like you've got to have you've got to have it on both ends of the floor. And, we that's kind of one thing that made us good at Buffalo is we got a lot of guys that were two-way guys. And too often people are looking for a finished product. I'll say this to answer to sum up the evaluation piece, they have to fit into your system, and B, the faults that they have or the deficiencies that they have must be things that can be fixed in the gym or are coachable. Right? Lack of effort's a problem. Like if you can't play hard with your boys on a Saturday afternoon in an AAU tournament, like you're probably not going to be able to play for us, right? But if you're a 30% guy from 3 and we need you to be a 38-40% guy, like I'll take that. We'll work with you on that. If if you need to tighten up your ball handling, that's something we can fix. So we're willing to kind of take those type of deficiencies, and we're not willing to sacrifice in the other areas. character or toughness or just guys that don't play hard. We're not going to do it. We're not buying into when he gets to college, he'll play hard. Probably not. It's a little harder at this level. So if you can't play hard at that level, I mean, I don't know what all of a sudden is going to go off in your head and make you play hard when practice is an hour and a half longer and your boys aren't next to you anymore. So it's all about fit.
I've noticed that about you when we've watched games together. You seem to go right to the guys who are vocal on defense, who look like they're really into the game and competing. Obviously, that sounds like such a simple thing, but people overlook that all the time. Don't they?
I'm a firm believer that a lot of the game is won before the ball even gets tipped up, man. I think it's won in practice. I think it's won in character and then just toughness. If I'm going to be out there, I'd rather have a group of 5 dudes that I know are going to take charges, dive on the floor, that are going to fight for you for 40 minutes than, the guy that's a knockdown shooter but refuses to get a rebound. And coach feels the same way. So we've been lucky, and there's enough of them around. There doesn't have to be a number by their name. We signed one top 100 player at Buffalo, and that was our last year there. The rest of those guys, we didn't. Everybody talks about our recruiting. We beat out high majors on 2 kids, and Jeremy Harrison, junior college, and Janathan Williams in our last year was a top 100 kid. The rest of those guys we signed at Buffalo were no, they didn't have a ranking. They were being recruited at the mid-major level. They just fit us, and they were tough, and we won with them.
Okay, bear with me here, Brian. We got to take a quick break.
No worries.
To talk about Fulcrum Tech. Everyone's got a video editing system that they use. Fulcrum Tech's video editing system, Angles, is the best in the business. Not only does it fit all your video needs, but it's way, way, way cheaper than any other product on the market. But that doesn't mean it's not as good. You can see it with teams in the ACC, SEC, Pac-12, American Conference, all over. Check out fulcrumtech.com or follow them on social media at Fulcrum Tech, TEC, no H at the end. So big shout out to Fulcrum Tech. Very, very excited about their product and what they're doing. And I think it's just a matter of time before they're already a major player in college athletics. But I think it's just a matter of time before they have a huge share of the market in video editing. So anyways, now that we've paid some bills, Brian, let's get back to it.
Yeah, man. You guys are always – one thing I'll say, you Rising Coaches is always on the come up when it comes to the latest technology. I know that through Bowman, man. We've experimented every year, and we've stuck with some stuff that it was, maybe new and other people weren't doing, and we've had a lot of success with it.
Well, no doubt. And the reason that we're able to have such great partnerships with companies like Fulcrum and really everybody that we work with is because guys like Adam Bowman, who we've talked about as your ops guy there at Alabama, are willing to get on the phone with some of these companies, see what their product's really about. Because a lot of times, you know how it is, no one wants to hear a sales pitch. Yeah. But a lot of times this stuff is pretty cutting edge and can be of some use. So a lot of credit to Adam and your guys' staff for that.
Let's stay on that real quick. All right. Any young coaches that are watching this or will watch this. This is unbelievable, Adam. Our ops guy, Adam Bowman, is now in his 6th year with Nate Oates. All right. So it was all 4 with us at Buffalo. He's here in the SEC at Alabama with us under Nate Oates. He is the best ops guy in the business. I'll argue that with anybody. The reason why he's with us is word of mouth from you. So my first recruiting trip at the University of Buffalo was to Los Angeles to Brad Winton's Availables event in LA.
I didn't know it was your first one. That was my first recruiting trip as well at SEMO.
That's my first ever Division I recruiting trip. Got on a plane, fly to LA. By the way, I had 2 big pickups there. One being Blake Hamilton, who was unbelievable for us at Buffalo. 2 being Adam Bowman, who's the best ops guy in the country. So me and you were talking. You were talking, hey, you got the job. Congrats. Who you got? What do you guys need to fill? And I said, actually, we literally are trying to find an ops guy. And Adam says to me, The guy that I just worked with at Mississippi State's unbelievable. Works his butt off, does this, and this. He's the most organized guy I've ever been around. He's unbelievable with technology, video, whatever you need, this guy does it. I've never met Bowman in my life. I call Nate Oates. I said, Nate, hey, I just ran into Adam Gordon, a guy that I trust his opinion. He says that we need to talk to this guy, Adam Bowman. Nate literally calls Adam that day, flies him in 2 days later, offers him the job. The rest is history. And the cool thing about that story is the guys that work hard, put their head down and do the right thing, it works out. And it worked out for Adam, and which is unbelievable. We talk about it all the time. I didn't know him. Nate didn't know him. But because he had done so well for you guys at Mississippi State, we called him, we hired him 2 days later, which is pretty cool. And I think is a pretty good story for young guys in the business to hear and gain some insight from.
No question. Yeah, I appreciate you mentioning that story. That was a hell of a week for you. And I remember, all right, this is a good question that I'll ask you along with this story.
Yeah.
I remember sitting at that event, right? And Blake Harris, who went on to be, I'm sure he went on to be all league, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. Blake Harris.
He went on to be a great player at Buffalo. Big key to all your guys' success there. We're sitting there watching him. He's killing. He's clearly like the best player at the event.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things, like we were in the market for I forget, we needed a 5 or we needed a point guard or something. And he's this hybrid, like 4, 3, 2. I don't know what the hell he is, but he's a good player.
Yeah.
Where do you fit on that? Like, do you go by position or do you just try to get the best dudes that can help you win?
I think a little bit of both. I think if you need a point guard, like you got to go get a point guard. Like you can't win without a point guard. The way we play outside of that position, 2 through 5, realistically, we're going to go get the best dudes. I mean, if you watch, and I challenge everybody to turn on the NBA tonight. If you watch the NBA and and look at the lineups and who plays the 5 at times, PJ Tucker started at the 5 for Houston almost all of the season last year after they got rid of Clint Capella. PJ Tucker's like 6'6", and I think, and that's the way we play. So there's going to be times in the SEC we're going to start Herb Jones at the 5 at 6'7", or there's times where we may be smaller than that. We did it at Buffalo, and so I think you can't win without a point guard. You've got to have a point guard. But 2 through 5, man, I think you just got to find for us at least, our system. We don't necessarily throw the ball into the post. We don't do any one-on-one stuff in the post. We go and find the best players we can get to fill those positions. And Blake, it's funny, man. Blake was a 4-3, like you said. End up the year we went to the tournament, he started for point guard. Started the point guard for us. So, and it's crazy, man. I walked in and I'm sitting here like, man, coach, there's like a 6'6" kid in here that can dribble, pass, shoot. He's got great feel. And he's at an availables event. I called the kid. He was getting ready to sign to a D2. So we took him, and the whole time I'm thinking, man, I hope this works. Because if I'm off and then this is my first kid I sign. If I'm that far off, I could be out of this deal. But it paid off, man. He hit the game-winning shot to send us to the NCAA tournament his first year with us.
Yeah, good job. That was a good, like I said, a good week for you.
Yeah, well,
Bowman and Blake.
Yeah.
All right, so you mentioned it. You beat out 2 kids at Buffalo, that had high major offers, and now I'm sure you're definitely in those type of situations there at Alabama. Every kid you're recruiting, I'm sure, has other high major offers. What are you doing to stand out? Both personally, like you, Bryan, and also representing your program on the recruiting trail.
The biggest thing is I'm doing what the kid tells me to do. And I can't stress that enough. I mean, Jeremy Harris, junior college transfer, number 2 player in the country. He's got Big 12 offers, ACC offers, SEC offers. We get him at Buffalo. The reason why we got him is he made it known to me from the start. The most important person in my life is my mother. I'm not making any decision without my mom being okay with it. With that being said, we were the only school out of the 5 scheduled official visits that went to Greensboro, North Carolina to sit down with his mother. So I can't, like, the one thing that I've found in recruiting is you have to pay attention to the details. One of the most important questions we ask is, who's going to help you make this decision? And what does that person mean to you? Whether is it your mom, is it your dad, is it your coach? Where do they stand in your life? And I think that I think where I try to stand out is I don't leave any stones unturned. And it's not, I'm not, there's a lot of guys that do that. It's not something that I invented or created. I learned that that's the only way that I'm going to be successful. I don't have some name behind me. I didn't play in the NBA. I wasn't, a big time college player. So I've got to work. And I just think if a kid tells you, hey, this is what I'm interested in, this is what I'm looking for, this is who you got to talk to, if you want any shot at all, you better do those things. And then I try to build genuine relationships to the point where when I lose a kid, it's tough, man. It hurts. I lost some in the fall last year, 2 of them that I really, really thought I was going to get. And it hurt. I mean, I'll never say the kid's name, but one kid called me on the phone and literally he was in tears. Like, he made a decision and it was a tough one for him. And the kid was in tears on the phone with me. And because we had built such a strong relationship that he had to make a real decision, and he chose not to go with us. We had just gotten here. We hadn't proven anything to anybody. We hadn't bounced a basketball in an SEC game before. So I understood. I never ever get mad at a kid for not choosing Alabama, but that hurt. But so I think the biggest thing is try to build genuine relationships. It's funny sometimes, you build such good relationships with these guys. You go to play like a road game, and a kid that you recruited really, really hard is on the other team. And, you catch yourself talking to the kid for a minute because you built such a good, we're on the phone 4 times, 5 times a week. So I think that's the biggest thing is identifying, who and what's important to the kid, making sure that you do that, and just outworking people.
How have you evolved as a recruiter in the last however many years you've been doing it at the D1 level?
The biggest change for me is at Buffalo, I had to worry about one class, and that was the class in front of me. So at Buffalo right now, I'm literally only care about the 2021 class. I don't care. I don't want to talk about a 2022 kid, right? I'm in the MAC. If I'm in love with a 2022 kid right now, there's a chance that he's probably going to be above my head by the time it gets to recruit 2022 guys. So I solely focused on the group ahead of me. At Alabama and the SEC, I've got to be – I'm doing Zooms left and right with 22 kids, and we still have got 4 to get in 21. So I think the biggest – the way I've evolved the most is balancing that out, is finding a way to keep those 22 guys engaged while also going in on the 21 guys. And I think that's the toughest adjustment to make coming from a mid-major to a Power 5. But I think we're doing a pretty good job of it here.
Yeah, no doubt. I never had to worry about that at SEMO because it was the same thing. Like, you worry about one class at a time. But I know I would struggle with that because I'm like blinders on, give me a few kids.
Yeah, there's times where you're like, man, it's been 2 weeks since I've talked to that 22 kid. And then, but that other people are talking to him all the time. And so it's just finding that balance. And kids don't want to sit on the phone. I mean, they want to text and exchange social media messages or whatever the case may be. They don't want to sit and talk to you on the phone for 30 minutes. So the other involvement, the other adjustment is finding ways to keep them engaged. You're not going to call a kid and genuinely talk to him for 30 minutes about how his school day was, how his how his workout was. They don't want to do that. So you've got to kind of find out, you got to get to their level. And I think that's one good thing Nate does is Nate does a good job of kind of getting on their level and speaking their language as far as what interests them. And so I think that's one thing that we all are going to have to constantly evolve in.
Yeah. Last thing before I let you go, I know you gotta run in a minute or two. We've brought up Nate, but I haven't asked you directly about him. Tell us, I know he's great at a lot of things and there's a lot that makes him unique and successful, but maybe touch on some of the biggest things that make him so great at what he does. Because he's one of a kind. Like, it doesn't take long once you're around him to realize, like, he's pretty special.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. And that, I think the biggest things are he is so detail oriented, and it forces working for Nate it forces everyone around him to be better. If you miss one small detail, he's going to catch it, and he's not a micromanager. He's not going to disrespect you if you miss a detail, but he's going to catch it. So just by the simple fact of not wanting to let him down, you yourself become very detail oriented. The other thing is, almost to a fault, this guy absolutely loves this game. I mean, people joke with me all the time. I'll have donors or other coaches or fans ask me, what else does Coach Oates do? And I literally tell them, outside of his family and basketball, nothing. The guy doesn't golf. He doesn't watch other sports. I mean, he's a diehard Packers fan. So if we're not practicing on Sunday, he'll watch the Packers. He's not going to change the practice schedule to watch them or make a point or, try to get out of town to go to a game. He grew up in Wisconsin, so he's going to watch. This dude watches basketball 7 days a week, every level. He studies the NBA. He studies film like a video. I mean, he watches as much film as our video coordinators. I mean, we're every morning, we'll come in and he sent 5 or 6 clips that night from NBA games. Hey, did you see they ran this? I think it'd be a good wrinkle to what we run. So he's locked in, and he is, outside of that, he's the most competitive person I've ever met in my life. He refuses to lose at anything. He hates it. I mean, and I think I think the most successful coaches have that quality. If you think of the guys that are most successful in any sport, and there's one right across the parking lot from me here, Coach Saban. I mean, you want to talk about a guy that doesn't like to lose, just watch a press conference after Alabama loses a football game. Doesn't happen very often, but YouTube it. And Nate's very similar. And they've developed a good relationship because they've got a lot of the same qualities when it comes to Coach Saban. That guy, he wants to coach football, and Nate Oates wants to coach basketball 7 days a week. I mean, literally, if the NCAA didn't limit our hours, he would be in the gym with those guys every single day as much as he could. And you want to talk about sweat equity. If the NCAA didn't limit him, he would be in there hands-on with our guys. The last little story I'll tell you is my first year with him. This is when I knew he was different. He's the head coach. We scheduled Duke. We're playing a road game at Duke in Cameron. I think it's like the 3rd, 4th game of the year, right? I'm fired up. We're playing Duke. So game's on ESPN, and the cameras are out there for pregame, watching the whole. They're zooming in on the guys shooting jumpers and pregame warmups. Nate Oates is out there in his suit pants and his button down, rebounding for the guys and kicking out passes to our players. The head coach in pregame warmups at Duke in Cameron, 20 minutes before tip, is out there rebounding for our guys. And that's who he is. I think what makes him special is the fact that he was a math teacher in high school 6 years ago. He doesn't forget where he came from, and he's made it to here because he loves the game and he loves developing and helping these young men. And I think that's why he's had success.
I love it. Well, Bryan, I know you got to run. I appreciate you hanging out with us today. And, looking forward to cheering you guys on this season.
Appreciate it, Adam. Thanks for having me on, man.
Thank you, Bryan. Thanks for everybody for tuning in.
Take care.